I'm not waiting for him. We have things to do here. Nope. Good evening, everyone. This is a very happy occasion, I must add. So let us begin. I would like to call the meeting of the Cumberland Fire Committee to order today, Tuesday, May 28th. Commissioner Hayden.
Present.
Commissioner Hogan.
Here.
Commissioner Kutsiani.
Present.
Commissioner Pacone.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Santoro.
Present.
And chairperson is here. If we could all stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. And during this moment of silence, I would like everybody to give their blessings and their positive thoughts and congratulations to Emily Andrews and Timothy Bowe for joining the ranks of firefighters. It is a noble profession, and it's such a pleasure to be able to do this today. So, a moment of silence, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would kindly be seated.
Madam Chair, members of the Board of Commissioners, firefighters, family, and friends. It's my honor to introduce the two newest members of the Cumberland Fire Department, Emily Andrews and Timothy Bowe, to be sworn in as probationary firefighters. These members have graduated from the Rhode Island Fire Academy Class 007, which had the neatest logo I have ever seen, with certificates in Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2, Driver Operator Aerial, Driver Operator Engine Company, Tech Rescue Operation, and Hazmat Technician during their 12 weeks of training. The Chair will swear in each member individually after I read their biographies, so there'll be plenty of time for photographs once their biographies are read. So, at this time, if I could have Emily Andrews step forward, and she will be pinned by her father, Warwick Fire Department Lieutenant David Andrews, Jr., accompanied by Miss Amelia Andrews. If you could all step forward. Emily grew up in the town of West Greenwich, where she still resides. She decided at a young age that she wanted to become a firefighter like her father, uncle, and grandfather. Emily would visit her father at the fire station in Warwick and remembers being turned upside down and always in and out of the trucks. Seeing her dad is one of her most prominent memories. Later on, she did ride time for her cardiac license and went to the same station, remembering every bit and piece of that station from when she was a child. Emily went on to have her own child, Amelia, which she loves dearly. Emily went on to take her physical performance test many times, I can attest to that, not wanting to give up on what her dream as a child had been. Emily is excited to serve the Town of Cumberland Fire Department and hopes she can continue with that dream. At this time, Madam Chair, Emily, if you would turn this way and repeat after the Chair.
Emily, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Emily Andrews,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will be true and faithful
that I will be true and faithful
to the Constitution of the United States of America
to the Constitution of the United States of America
and the state of Rhode Island,
and the state of Rhode Island,
and support the laws and Constitution thereof,
and will support the laws and Constitution thereof,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of firefighter
discharge the duties of firefighter
with the Cumberland Fire Department
for the Cumberland Fire Department
until I am legally discharged
until I am legally discharged
therefrom.
therefrom.
You can lower your right hand. Congratulations.
Timothy Bowe, if you could step forward. And Tim's mother, Susan. Oh. Timothy Bowe is a lifelong fifth-generation resident of Cumberland, Rhode Island. He is the son of Susan Shea and Brian Bowe, and also the brother of Brad Bowe, all of Cumberland. During Tim's free time, you can find him participating in local athletic leagues, as well as rooting on the home teams in all major sports. He also has a passion for traveling, having been to many parts of this country, along with experiencing the different cultures from across the pond in Europe. After graduating from Cumberland High School in 2011, Tim worked in the landscape design and masonry construction as a foreman, where he developed skills in leadership and communication. During that time, he served as a call firefighter for the North Cumberland Fire District. These experiences, along with the influence of family and friends employed in the same field, quickly solidified Tim's goals to pursue a career in firefighting. After completing the required courses and attending the Rhode Island Fire Academy, Tim is prepared and looking forward to serving his community and the needs of others. Pinning his badge this evening will be his mother, Susan Shea. Tim, if you could face this direction.
Tim, if you would raise your right hand, please. I state your name.
I, Timothy Bowe,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will be true and faithful to the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will be true and faithful to the Constitution of the United States of America
and of the state of Rhode Island,
and of the state of Rhode Island,
and support the laws and Constitution thereof,
and support the laws and Constitution thereof,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of firefighter
the duties of firefighter
with the Cumberland Fire
with
Department
the Cumberland Fire Department
until I am legally discharged therefrom.
until I am legally discharged therefrom.
Congratulations. You can lower your hand.
Tim.
I'd also like to thank the Cumberland Fire Department Honor Guard for being here. Thank you very much, and other members of the fire department welcoming in our two newest members. Congratulations, both of you. Now, I'm sure everyone here is just desperate to hear the rest of the meeting. So could I entertain a motion to take a break for families and friends to gather and take their leave?
Motion for a 5-minute recess.
Motion for a 10-minute recess by Commissioner Santoro. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Pacone. All in favor of a 10-minute recess, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Granted. Thank you very much, everyone. All right. Shall we continue with our meeting? God, I love nights like this.
Yes, please.
We okay over there? All right, great. All right, moving on. General announcements. Does anyone have any general announcements? Okay. Let's go with the...
Chair.
Oh, sorry, Chief.
The small tile that you have in front of you
Yes.
is a replica of the 12-by-12 brick that the board approved for the Fire Academy memorial, the firefighters' memorial site to be constructed in Exeter, which I'm happy to report construction began last week and is moving along. For October completion date is the target right now.
Very good.
And send that bill to me, Chief. I'm paying for that brick.
That's already paid.
How much is it? Whatever it cost, I donated the money for that brick. That's for a firefighter that passed away?
That's for the entire department. I had sent you the link if you wanted to do one for
Yeah.
firefighter Borges.
Okay.
If you've misplaced it, I'll send you the link again.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass this around so everyone can take a look at it. That's really nice. Thank you very much. Who designed it? Did anyone design it? You will? All right, nice job. Okay. Let's move on to the next section, approval of the minutes from 4/23/2019. Is there a motion on the table?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Cuccione. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the notes from 4/23/2019, the minutes from 4/23/2019, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Moving on to the minutes from the meeting 5/7/2019. Is there a motion on the table to accept the meeting notes?
Motion.
Motion to accept the minutes of the May 7, 2019 meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by, motion by Commissioner Cucciani, second by Commissioner Santoro. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes of 5/7/2019, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Approval of minutes from 5/9/2019. Is there a motion on the table to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Pacone. Seconded?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hogan. Sorry about that, Commissioner Hayden, you missed out on that one. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of approval of the minutes from 5/9/2019, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Chief's report, Chief.
Hold on. Communications?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, communications.
Communications.
So, in the interim, since the last budget hearings and meetings, I had the opportunity to meet a gentleman named Michael Hogan, who works for the state, obtaining grants, and you and I spoke briefly. He directed me towards the AFG, Assistance Firefighter Grant website, and we talked for a while as well about the E911 system from the state and how the money is being dispersed. I also spoke, I'll get to the AFG in a minute, I also spoke with Rep. Mazurkowski, and I'm meeting with Rep. Ackerman this week about trying to obtain some legislative grants and some other activities at the House or state level for funding that they can think of in any manner, any way that they can help us out. A few $1,000s here or there isn't going to solve our problem. But at least talking to Alex Mazurkowski for a while and meeting with Ms. Ackerman this week, I'll get back to you on what the progress is on that. In terms, and I'm looking into the Dennis Leary Foundation for Foundations as well. He gives money out of the year to fire departments, paid and volunteer. Now, in terms of the AFG Assistance to Firefighter Grants, the way that I see it applies to us, and I went on the website, the two SAFER grants that we obtained, I believe, and I'm going to pursue myself if I can't get any help, pursuing a waiver of the copay because we are financially stressed. And I have the packet of the application here. We have to prove that we've taken out a TAN, there's oversight from the Auditor General, a few other requirements. And I'll work with the chief or the finance director, whomever it takes to apply for these. There's also another one. I haven't seen the applications for 19 yet, if they're going to come out soon. I've also found, and there's another grant that if it comes out again, 19, allows for equipment, gear.
It's either the SAFER grant or the AFG grant.
Yes. So there's two of them. There's the SAFER.
Right.
And another part of the AFG is for gear, equipment.
Correct.
Fire trucks, apparatus, all of that. I'll work with the chief and the finance director, the attorney, whoever it takes to at least apply. If they say no, at least we've tried. But the SAFER grant that we have for the two firefighters, there is an area where we can apply. We may not meet some of all the requirements, but I believe we do meet a significant portion that may give us a break on the amount we have to match in terms of funding from FEMA, from the government. So I've been trying to communicate with anyone I can in the state to get any novel forms of revenue for us, the department, and our firefighters, and the town of Cumberland's finances.
Commissioner Santoro, thank you very much for doing that. And if I could suggest, in terms of, in preparation of the upcoming round of grants, it would probably be helpful if you talked about what Cumberland Fire Department actually needs. You know, develop a needs list, because is it equipment, is it, you know, do we need more washers for the fire, you know, things like that. So I would suggest you might want to talk to members of the department to see what their ideas of what we actually need also. Because once you have the needs list, then it will be able to help you focus more in writing the grant built around that list of needs.
Will do. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Anything else under communications?
Just one thing, Chief, what's the graduation date on the next 008? June
28th.
June, so that would be a communication, June 28th. 10 a.m., what number Green Avenue? 10?
4 Green Lane.
4 Green Lane, Exeter.
Yep.
It's off Route 2 near the Vet Cemetery. All are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Any other communications? Okay, moving on. Chief's report.
In somewhat of a response to Commissioner Santoro, 19 grants don't come out till 20. So we're working on 18 right now. And for our 18 grants, we submitted for turnout gear under equipment, and we submitted for an engine company under apparatus. And the two SAFER grant people, I believe Kerry has explored the waiving of the fees, but at the time, we didn't have an audit, so we're going to really have to wait for the audit to see the final result, to see if we comply with that. But I had been working and looking at that on the same avenue that Mr. Santoro indicated earlier. Right now, with the government shutdown earlier this year, everything is like 3 months behind. Usually, we're well into the award process now. Peer review has been done, but no awards have been sent out yet. So, and the reason that it's always a year in behind, it's because of the funding in the budget. And there was an attempt earlier to defund the whole program. So the first obstacle is to get it funded before they can send out any applications for next fiscal year. So. For April, as the report shows, we had 369 runs for the month and broken down by the category. EMS still is the primary category, as you've seen. We did have a small kitchen fire at a local restaurant, which was held to the cooking area. This is a very unique set of circumstances because the security footage had the entire fire from the ignition to the extinguishment all on security camera. This particular building was built quite a while ago, and had it not been 3 in the afternoon, had it been 3 in the morning, the whole business block would have had significant damage rather than just the one business. The suppression system over the grill worked to contain the fire, along with the carbon monoxide that was emitted from the burning plastic. And it was a completely accidental fire. Remarkably, they had a group of volunteers in on Sunday to help them clean the restaurant. They were able to get a Department of Health okay on Monday, and they were reopened on Tuesday. So they basically lost Sunday and Monday, Sunday being a big business day for them. But they were extremely appreciative of the efforts of the fire department, the response, and the help getting everything mitigated and put through. So we had some technical problems with the new fire alarm box receiving console. That was one of the bills that was approved tonight. Part of the technical difficulties was one building in town would no longer transmit to the new location, so an external antenna had to be installed on that building so that the signal transmission could get through to the dispatch center. Now, the best way that I can organize this for everybody's understanding is the transmitters in these boxes are about the same strength as our cell phones. So you have all experienced where you've been in a portion of your house or a building and you didn't have a signal and you took a couple of steps and then you had a perfect signal. Well, that's what happened to this one particular box. And luckily it was just one box out of the 220 in the town. So we had to put an external antenna on. I did ask the Public Safety Building Committee to purchase the antenna. The initial conversation was that it was denied because it wasn't part of the physical structure. I have since talked to the mayor, and we will take another attempt at getting the building committee to fund this portion. Although it's not part of the exact physical building, it's part of the integral system that the fire alarm box console relies on to transmit effectively throughout. And this happened to be in the northern area of town where we have a nursing home, some schools, some other high-value districts.
I understand that this is going to be an item further down, this information about the dispatch center?
Yes, yep.
All right, I'll reserve my comments until, for that.
Okay. You know, also, there was some programming issues that needed to be resolved, that the initial platform that was installed that had worked in other communities didn't work in our community. So the technician had to come in and physically reformat all 220 boxes. There was no cost to us for that. It was just an oversight on the REL's part when they brought the box in. They thought the format would work as it had in other communities, not realizing the extent of our network in this community. So, and unfortunately, I have to report that we've had another firefighter injured during an EMS call doing a carry. It appears to be muscular. It doesn't appear to be long-term. He's been out 2 days now. I'm sorry, he's been out 3 days now, and he's going for a follow-up this week. When I talked to him earlier today, he was still in some discomfort, but it was getting better. So that's where we're at right
And that's
now.
also going to be discussed further
Later
down,
on,
and I'll
yep.
reserve my comments for that.
Chief, I know we're going to discuss this later on.
All right, so let's wait.
Well,
Can we?
Sure.
Thank you. Any questions on the, by the way, congratulations to the fire department for doing such a great job at, is it Eggs Up?
Yes.
Very good. That was really good news for them to be able to get back into business so quickly, so congratulations. Anything else for the chief? Because there are 2 other items that we will be discussing. Okay, thank you. Is there a motion on the table to accept the chief's report? Motion to accept by Commissioner Pacone. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Hayden. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of accepting the chief's report, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Our last finance report from Diane.
Can you hear me? Is this working?
I can hear you.
Okay. We are at about 90% at the end of April for tax collection. We probably will be at about 98% total, which is typical. And we do have all of July and August that we can roll back into this current year. We're at 83, almost 84% of our expenses at the end of April, so I'm not sure that we will stay within the 17% of our expenses in the next, for May and June. So we may go over on the expenses. I don't have an exact prediction yet. We're trying to come up with another cash flow projection and cash deficit projection for the Department of Revenue, but we haven't done that yet. So we are still honoring the spending freeze and following that and trying to keep the expenses down and the spending down. So I don't have a lot new to report this month from last month.
So I just want to be clear with everyone that a spending freeze means a spending freeze, period, period, period. And I think I'm expecting that everyone is on the same page. You know, if you have to buy a nail, we have to look at that expense, whether it's 5 cents or $500,000. It cannot just go through. Okay? Any questions for the Finance Director? Well, before I ask for a motion to accept the report, I would like to extend my thank you to you for the work that you have done here for the Cumberland Fire Department in the past few years, but most especially during the past few months, because this has been the most difficult, I'm sure, of all of the months that we have been together. And I know that you have worked extremely hard and doing the best you can and keeping everyone on the straight and narrow in terms of being fiscally responsible. So, you know, I congratulate you, and I wish you many happy years in retirement with your grandchildren, and that you get to travel and do all sorts of things that people get to do, that I've heard that they do when they
Right.
retire. And, you know, we'll keep in touch.
Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure. It's been an honor serving the fire department all these years, and I will certainly miss it. It's been my second home for a very long time. So it's been a pleasure.
We'll still have your number on speed dial, so
Okay.
you can get away with it that lightly.
Ms. Chairperson, if I may,
Commissioner,
I would like to also thank the Finance Director, Diane Carolishin, for her extraneous effort over the past several years, but certainly in the past several months, and I thank you very much.
not yet. Not yet. Okay. Is there a motion on the table to accept the finance report?
Motion to accept
Motion by Commissioner Santoro. Is there a second?
final report.
I'll second.
Second by
Commissioner Hayden seconds. We got to get him in here. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of accepting the April 2019 finance report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Chief, if you could come back to the podium, please, for the next two items. So, the chief and I had talked recently in the past week, and he advised me of another injury to one of our firefighters during a medical call. So I asked him to put this on the agenda because I am getting very dismayed at the fact that we are having injured firefighters on medical calls, and we are not getting any assistance from EMS. So I'm asking the committee to engage in a discussion regarding your feelings, because I am just thinking extreme right now, because it's very frustrating, thinking that we are losing personnel because of EMS. And I'm wondering your feelings about the fact that, do we send ladder trucks to a fall? Or if there is the need to carry someone out, do we just let EMS take that role, because that is their role? Because if they get injured, then they are covered. If we get injured, we are not covered. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. And I'm getting very disappointed in the other town services who are not supporting our needs in the town. And so, you know, I'm thinking outside the box here. And I would like everybody else to weigh in.
Chief, is there a protocol as to when, how long, if our firefighters are able to respond before EMS, is there any kind of a protocol for when we should disengage and when we can leave, or do we stay until everything's complete? Is there any
It's the
kind of-
company office's decision call. If they're there for assistance. As long as assistance is needed, they usually stay to help, as has been established in the past. And whether it's a Cumberland EMS unit or an out-of-town EMS unit, the protocol has been, without any type of triage at dispatch, the nearest company goes so that there's assistance to the residents of the town. And whatever transpires after that, it's just an incident that grows. whether it's, you know, any type of incident starts with a call and it grows to the fruition, whether it's extinguishment or transport.
Does it make sense to work with EMS and set up some kind of a protocol, or is this or the types of calls too varied?
Well, what type of,
Similar to what the chairwoman was saying, is there a protocol? Should we work with them to devise a protocol that says if there is a carry needed that's not an emergency situation, wait till EMS? Is that feasible? Can we do that if we work with EMS?
I don't think you could, I'm not sure, and Chief Plikus is here from EMS, and I'm sure you'll want him to take the podium also. But it's difficult to come up with that type of protocol. You know, if you haven't done it, it might be difficult to understand, but if a company officer knows his two people have carried multiple times, they can get that patient out effectively, where if you have two people filling in or you're unfamiliar with an out-of-town EMS unit and don't know their particular strengths and weaknesses, it could be more injurious to the patient if they drop, lose their balance. So it's really the call of the company officer on scene, because he can evaluate the manpower situation that's present. I know it's difficult, and I don't like to see anybody get hurt in any scenario, but I'm sure the decision was made on the facts that were presented at the time.
Right, thanks. Makes sense.
And, you know, it's never a heavy patient. It's never a heavy piece of equipment. It's always the light stuff that you put yourself in a peculiar predicament, and that's where you get injured. And in this case, this patient wasn't very heavy, and it was just the configuration of the stairwell to get her out proved difficult at the very bottom step that made a hard turn. So,
Madam Chairperson,
Commissioner Kuziani.
I have to admit that I'm still at a loss as to the details. If you go to if an emergency situation, a medical emergency situation has arisen and the firefighters get there first, I would expect that they would administer the appropriate response. But
yes,
once
they do.
the emergency service gets there, don't they control the situation?
They do.
Excuse me?
They control the situation. They're a higher level of care than our responders.
Right.
So why, I mean, at that point in time, should not the Cumberland firefighters, unless there's a need and they're requested by the emergency situation to lend assistance, should they not back off? I'm asking.
It's a team
because I don't
effort
know.
when everybody is together on scene. It's a team effort to administer the best possible care pre-hospital. And again, you know, when the officer in charge looks at the personnel there and he thinks that our firefighters are better suited to remove that patient from the area they're in, that's the order he gives, and that's how it gets carried out.
I repeat the question again. Who is the officer in charge? Is it the
It would
Cumberland
be
Fire? Is it the fire department or the
It would be EMS.
So why are we making the decision?
What decision?
That's the officer in charge,
Yeah.
EMS,
EMS.
once they arrive, is
Right.
it not?
Correct, it is.
So they suggest, this is what we need.
Yep.
And if the Cumberland firefighters or the department can assist, I would expect them to assist. But I would expect a major responsibility, unless I'm misinterpreting this, and whether we need further clarification or further review outside of this meeting to decide who is going to be, well, you just indicated, it's
And
EMS.
it very well could be EMS, and they could indicate, could you carry for us? And that's a request from EMS, and we would just carry it out. We would carry the request out along with the patient.
And I heard what you just said. The fact that they request that you carry out the patient, I still think that that's a responsibility of EMS. Now, I just also indicated the Cumberland Fire Department can and should participate. But it's a major this is not being critical, looking for the education here. It's the EMS, that's their responsibility. Should they not, have they not been doing it, or am I misinterpreting something?
They've assisted in the carries. We don't always carry, it just, this one happened to be we were carrying. There were others, there were no carries involved from a couple of years ago, with slips and falls on ices, but, you know, this was just, before we get back into having, 5 or 6 people out, the chair wanted to have this discussion with the full board.
I realize accidents happen.
Yeah.
They're not intentional, should not be intentional, so I know that accidents can be happening. I've expressed my views. I'm ready to participate with this board and talking with EMS to have a clearer understanding and not being critical, just so we know who is responsible for what. My thoughts.
Can we hear from Chief Plakas? Madam Chair?
Commissioner.
Can we hear from Chief Plakas on his thoughts on this? I'm sure he has a wealth of knowledge. He's been doing this for
Well,
40 years.
I would love to hear from
Us?
Chief Plakas, but before we do that, I'd like
Well, my opinion...
Hear from the board.
Reason why I say that is I don't believe it belongs with this board. It does to some regard in terms of the IOD. I think it belongs between the chief of the fire, the chief of the rescue, and the mayor, who's the public safety director for the town. I don't believe we have any role sticking our nose into micromanaging how EMS calls are run. Being a volunteer since I was 15, when the horn goes off, and Dana, you were there, when the horn goes off, it's a fire, rescue shows up. If someone gets hurt, and they get hurt of the fire, they don't come looking for us for money. If we get hurt helping the rescue, now we're looking to them because we're broke. I see both sides. But this discussion belongs at the chief operational, senior level operations. Chief, mayor, chief, police chief, fire chief, rescue chief. This commission, although we're very concerned about injured on duty, getting money back from rescue if we could, be wonderful. I just think we're the wrong venue. I appreciate all of our opinions. Dana ran the rescue for, 15 years, Dana? Yeah, I would appreciate someone with Mr. Plakas' experience in being the chief of that department, giving his opinion. I personally think that when we go to a call, rescue call, we go as the fire department to assist the rescue. We're there first. We transfer care to the rescue. We stay till the patient is stabilized, and they say, okay, then you can leave. Unfortunately, accidents happen. If 2/3 of your calls are going to be EMS, mathematically speaking, a portion of your injuries are going to be on EMS calls, no matter what. Even if we cut it down to 50%, we're still going to have injuries on rescue calls. I think that micromanaging how we assist the rescue does not belong with this body.
So, Commissioner Santoro, first of all, I never talked about micromanaging. I'm asking everyone's opinion on what they think about this topic. I have no intention of micromanaging anyone, nor does this board. But we advise the chief. There is no other board like that in this town. The chief operates at the will of the commission.
Yes.
So it's up to the commission to...
If we feel that
Can
way...
I finish, please?
Yes.
The chief operates at the will of the commission,
In terms of operations,
in terms of everything.
then I think we're crossing a boundary with...
Excuse me, I'm not done.
Okay.
And what I'm looking for is opinions from this board regarding the issues that are in front of us. I don't want to risk our firefighters getting hurt when other people should be doing that work. I want the opinion of this board, find out where they stand. Commissioner Kutsiani made a suggestion. Let's sit down and talk with EMS. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking on instruction. I'm looking for your opinion on how we should start managing this issue, period. Does anyone else have an opinion?
Well, that's my opinion.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones.
It's all about public service, and residents of town are all our customers, and they appreciate seeing the engine or a ladder, a rescue vehicle approaching their house. They might call once in their life, twice in their life, but that's the biggest emergency in their life, perhaps. And if we need to look at protocol as far as medical triage, that's one step to take, maybe. John Pelikas has been at this for many years and on state and federal level, and there's no easy way on medical triage on a dispatch level of getting to a point where we feel comfortable. Actually, the chief and I had met our new recruit's father at the academy, works on Warwick Fire, and they went through this process legally and about responses to EMS, and came right back in circle to they go on every call. If we could streamline it, we could do something with a subcommittee, meet with the EMS. That's my opinion, but bottom line is, it's the same customers that EMS is responding to as our customers. It's the residents, and if we can get, if there's an improvement to be made, I think we should have a subcommittee to meet with Chief Pelikas and Deputy DeAngelis. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Holden.
Madam Chair, I tend to agree with Commissioner Jones. I think we do need a subcommittee to sit down with everyone involved. It just, when I look at these figures every single month, it's 70, 73, 75, 78% of all our calls are all rescue related. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be all working in unison, but something needs to be done because we end up paying the brunt. I understand what Dana's saying in Warwick. That's a city. The fire and the rescue are supported by the city. We don't support the EMS. The town supports the EMS. They're under the town budget, not our budget. And as everyone knows, our budget's going to hell. So I think the right thing to do would probably get the two chiefs together and sit down, maybe the next meeting, or set up a subcommittee meeting to meet some night and go over and see what the issues are, whether Chief Pelikas thinks that, you know, maybe he doesn't need the fire department there 50% of the time or 75% of the time. Maybe it's only on a cardiac run, or maybe, obviously, if it's a car accident, they're there because they have the equipment. But far be it for me to try to be an expert on firefighting or rescue service, because I'm far from it. But I definitely think we need to sit down with the powers to be and try to get this thing straightened out, because it's killing us financially. It's just, we can't continue to go this route. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Pacone?
The reason I asked the question earlier to the chief was because, like Commissioner Hogan said, I'm not nearly close to an expert in this area. I would can appreciate what Commissioner Santoro said, and I think he was in his way trying to say something similar to Commissioner Jones, where we're not experts in this area and we shouldn't be, dictating what to do in this circumstance. But I think it's a good idea to have a meeting of the minds and find out what, first of all, would maintain the level of, making sure that people of Cumberland are protected, first of all, and also to minimize the risk of the firefighters. So I think it's definitely a matter for further discussion with the right parties.
Thank you. Commissioner Hayden?
I agree with Commissioner Jones about it. I think we ought to get a committee together and the chiefs and just start coming up with some ideas and see what we can do to try to come to a solution for it all. It's kind of tough to, a call comes in, whether you send an engine or you don't send an engine, you know, it's, when the calls come in, you don't know. And if you don't send the engine, it could be something severe. So I don't want to be in that hot seat, but maybe we, with the chiefs and all that, and some of the members here, we can come up with some kind of a solution and, you know, try to share the wealth a little bit, help us out.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, I appreciate your input, and it sounds like what the board would love to see happen is a subcommittee formed with both chiefs and anyone else who would like to be involved. So, can I finish, please? Thank you. So at the end of the meeting, if you would kindly let me know if you would be interested in participating on this subcommittee, then we can get that in motion. Thank you very much for this discussion. I find it very valuable. Chief, if you want to speak? Okay.
Thank you. If I may, the district plays an integral role in EMS in this town. And we have an outstanding relationship with the boots on the ground. They do an excellent job in their role. I will say I take exception to the comment you made that EMS won't provide you support. I have never had a conversation with you, nor the chief, related to any of this, and I'm the chief of EMS. So I don't know what you're referring to that we won't provide you support, and I don't know what kind of support you're looking for. So with that said, I'm also curious to know, what have you done on your end proactively? Okay, lifting mechanics classes, have you had your insurer come in and do anything with your people with regard to lifting mechanics and whatnot? I don't know. Something that you might want to consider. We're not immune from injuries. I had 3 long-term injuries this year in my department alone. Pensioned somebody off with an on-the-job injury. January 18th was his last day. He's pensioned off. We own that, so we're not immune from it. You choose to be involved in EMS, okay, and that's part of being involved in EMS, okay. And nobody's immune from injuries. It's a injury risk rich function. And I'd be more than glad to work with anybody who wants to work with us in that regard to see how we can reduce it on both ends, but nobody's approached me. The chief hasn't approached me in this regard. You haven't approached me in this regard. So to say that EMS isn't willing to provide you support, I don't know what you're talking about, because I've never been asked to comment or for support, and I don't know what support you're looking for. I know there's been some, meetings of exclusion with the previous administration, the mayor, yourself, and the chief. Of course, I wasn't invited or a party to that. That's the previous administration. But other than that, I'm in the dark. So.
Thank you.
That's it.
All right. Moving on to the next section. Operation of the new dispatch center and subsequent costs to the Cumberland Fire District. Can you just kind of remind us again what's going on?
There was two aspects that developed in the move to the new dispatch center. The first one came up in February 27th, when I was informed by the dispatch supervisor that there were no speakers on the fire radio in the new system, that they had been scratched from the work order, and that in order to hear the fire radio, they would either have to select the speaker to be on the fire radio, then they wouldn't be able to hear the police. So the option at the time was to install a separate speaker dedicated just to the fire radio that the fire and rescue transmits over. So seeing the need, and in February they were imminently supposedly moving across the street, but that ended up getting delayed, I commissioned 2 speakers to be purchased through Cybercom, the MPA installer for Motorola in the state of Rhode Island, and they were installed on the system. And at that point, that was $968. it solved the problem. And it just, that was back in February, and it kind of fell out of my thought process until the Norell antenna came up, and the building committee denied me on the antenna as that not being part of the integral system. Then it kind of jogged my memory that there was another piece of the integral system that they didn't pay for. So now I've had a meeting with the mayor last week. He wanted the documents. I forwarded both documents, and I'm going to try, or the board can try, to get a meeting with the Public Safety Building Committee, which is still in effect because they have numerous punch list items that they're going through, to get both of these purchases reimbursed to the fire district. The Norell was denied because it was outside the physical plant, the physical building, and they didn't quite buy the whole, that the whole system is integral and one piece relies on the other. The speakers were definitely in the building, and that should have been in the process at the time.
So does this have an impact, and feel free to jump in and ask questions, anyone, does this have an impact on people accessing EMS or 911 from that area? If,
Not 911, the Norell is just the fire alarm box.
so,
But we have a group home, we have an assisted living, we have a healthcare facility, we have a school, we have a group home, all in that area that was reliant on this box being able to forward the signal to dispatch.
This is a repeater?
Like I said earlier, the transmitters in these fire alarm boxes are about the same strength as your cell phone.
I understand.
And the topography of Cumberland, depending on where you are, it might take 2 or 3 steps. And when I say steps, it would transmit to another box closer to dispatch, and however many steps it takes to get from where that building is located to the dispatch center,
So-
that many steps or that many transmissions are needed.
So, 2 questions. The Norell is the only supplier we use for these boxes?
Yeah, they have territorial rights, just like Cybercom.
Okay. And the bylaws require us to get 3 quotes. Can we get 3 quotes? Are these 2 new speakers already bought? The Cyber...
Territorial rights. Even if I went to another vendor, the vendor would have to go through Cybercom, because Motorola has territorial rights awarded to Cybercom. For any Motorola work that is done in Rhode Island, it has to go through Cybercom, and they have the state master purchasing agreement with the state of Rhode Island also.
so I'm sorry, go ahead.
So right now, they're just switching back and forth between...
No, right now,
These are already
the
purchased?
speakers are in, because the speaker system for, with Cybercom, that was accomplished in February before we started ramping up with so many disbursements in the budget.
And we're paying for it now?
No, we're paying for Norell now. Cybercom was already paid. The one tonight is for Norell. That, we're not switching back and forth with Norell. That is just part of the fire alarm box system, the master box system.
Yeah. I understand, I totally get the Beagle Club, you know. I know how the field fireboxes work very briefly. I don't understand, why is this bill in the packet, the Cybercom bill?
It was just for reference of the 2 bills that we incurred costs going into the new dispatch center.
Oh, okay.
And those are the 2 that I'm going to try or seek assistance from the board in getting reimbursed from the building committee.
From the town?
So do these people still have the ability to access emergency services?
Yes.
I just don't understand why we're paying for it when it is a result of the move.
The problem with the Beagle Club box was the other boxes In the northern, anything north of Nate Whipple, we're having difficulty transmitting. So we had too many high occupancy critical care facilities that were in jeopardy of not transmitting an alarm. So it was, in my honest opinion, an emergency fix that needed to be done so that the healthcare facilities would have protection in that area.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, the radio box system, that's more or less self-funding through fees, correct?
There's a fee associated with the box each year. That's to offset integral hardware maintenance that's needed. The other system, as you recall, was 19 years old, and it had 19-year-old technology. There were more repairs that were needed to be done. The new system is much more technologically advanced, but we've also integrated the replacement of the backup batteries in that fee schedule, which ends up being a cost savings for us, where in the past we'd have to go out, open the Keltron box because the fire department is the only one with access to that box because of the liability that if someone hit the wrong switch and shut it off, it would not transmit the alarm. So rather than going out, opening the box, having the electrician go get the batteries, go back, reopen the box for them, put the batteries in, lock it up, we decided that we would cover the cost of the batteries. We increased the fees 2 years ago, the first time in 15 years. The fees were increased, but we increased the fees to cover the cost of the batteries, but it reduces our man-hour times out there. So there is some pool money left, but we also have to take care of antennas, cabling, the computer system that now receives the transmissions, and anything else that might arbitrarily fail during the life of the system.
Okay, thank you. The speaker question, that's a separate issue, though, right? That was-
Correct.
that was done-
That's
done
separate
way
from
back.
fire alarm.
That's
is-
part of public safety complex was a federal grant for police, fire, and EMS originally, right? But we're still in...
Was that federal grant? No, that was just a bond.
Oh,
It was
the
a town
bond. It was written up, no, I'm sorry, it was the bond issue for the voters was police, fire, and EMS.
Yeah,
We have a small portion, the EOC is located there.
correct.
For a storm emergency, you all convene there with the rescue, the EMS department, highway, and so forth. So the speaker system, to me, it's just, in my opinion, should be picked up by that fund.
I agree.
Thank you.
So have you sent them a bill?
We did.
Send it again. Any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Hogan.
Chief, just a quick question. Why are we responsible for private entities with these fire alarm boxes to begin with? I mean, if I owned a business and I wanted a fire alarm system, and I think I should be responsible for paying for it and maintaining it.
They initially purchased the box and install it on their system. The battery backup, like I say, we were tying up manpower numerous hours, and you know, one of the deputies said, you know, why are we doing this? Why don't we just buy the batteries, increase the fees, and cut our time down at these different buildings? The issue with this is when we were hitting the antenna on the tower behind the old police station, that was functioning perfect, as good as could be expected in Cumberland. But there was nowhere near the issues that arose when we went across the street and it now had to hit the antennas that were just placed on the roof of the new building. So that short distance in height proved to be the one downfall. And there was a possibility, you know, luckily it was just one box. There was a possibility this could have happened quite a few times. But, you know, luckily it was that one area. And if anybody's driven through that area with a cell phone, you usually lose service going through there also. So it's a very intricate area. The same with Highland Corporate Park. There's so much Cumberlandite in Highland Corporate Park that signal gets grounded very easily up there.
Thank you.
Any discussion, any other questions? So where do we go from here?
Get an audience with the building committee and plead our case.
All right, if anyone would like to join in that, at the end of the meeting, let me know. Thank you. Any other questions? Thanks. Okay, moving on to resolution number 18, amending benefit options for part-time employees. Whereas part-time employees shall be eligible to purchase health and dental benefits from the Cumberland Fire District. Be it resolved that part-time employees will be eligible to purchase medical coverage from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Rhode Island and dental coverage from Delta Dental at the Fire District's annual rate after 30 days of employment. All co-pays and the annual deductible will be the responsibility of the employee. Payments for benefits will be due the first of each month. If the payment is not received by the 15th of the month, benefits will be terminated. Is there a motion on the table?
Motion.
Motion.
Madam Chair, sorry I'm late. Madam Chair, I know this doesn't require an explanation, but I feel compelled to do so. I've looked at this resolution. I think there's a lot of details that are missing, and I don't think we're going to resolve those details at tonight's meeting, such as what is a part-time employee, when does it start, when does it stop, etc. I know the motion's already been made technically, but I'm still going to make it. I'm going to suggest we table this motion.
Madam Chair, point of order. I don't
ahead.
think, under discussion, we didn't have a second on that motion.
We did not have a second on that motion. So this conversation is null and void at this point in time, unless there's a second. Second by Commissioner Santoro. For discussion.
For discussion, please.
Commissioner Kutsiani.
Well, then I renew my motion. I move to table this resolution for the reasons I've just indicated. I think it needs further clarification. I don't think we have the ability to do it tonight. It raises multiple issues.
Madam Chair, under discussion, the part-time employees offered this now, or is this a new?
This is a new.
Okay. I'm going to, well, I'm not going to second. I'm going to agree with Commissioner Kutsiani. I think a little bit more study is needed for this, if this is a new benefit that's going to be offered to part-time employees.
So if I could, this is not going to add any additional cost to the district, correct? What do we need to discuss? I mean, we're not taking on any extra cost. We'll have part-time employees that work for us that will be able to get benefits and pay for them on their own. I mean, I think the last few resolutions that I've seen, when we've hired someone, it's been specified that they're a part-time employee, so I think it answers that question. And the resolutions also state the date of employment. If you have any additional questions, I'm sure we can kind of talk through them, but I don't know what other discussion we need to have.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Hogan.
Well, I think that should have been part of the resolution or brought, and once again, I refer back to Commissioner Kutsiani. I did not know that. I did not know there was going to be another cost to this. This wasn't part of the resolution. I don't know if it's going to be an added.
There is no cost.
Okay, well, it doesn't say that in the resolution, so we're kind of flying solo here, so thank you.
Yes.
I believe it does say in the resolution that the employee will pay the full cost of the premium, will be responsible for all co-pays and all deductibles. And I have actually consulted with our insurance broker to make sure that this has no impact on our policy, and he clearly said it did not. We have 3 part-time employees. 2, the finance director, 2 part-time clerks in the tax office, and this came up because one of the part-time clerks was losing her COBRA.
No, I don't want to deny anybody access to to health coverage. It's just, I wasn't sure whether there was going to be an added expense or not. So I
Absolutely.
understand they're making a their
Right,
co-pays.
absolutely no expense to
I
the
mean, I
department.
pay a co-pay, but it also costs,
Right,
you know.
absolutely no
Thank you.
expense and no cost to the department.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Kutsiani.
Again, I repeat, look at the wording, part-time employees. There's no definition of what a part-time employee is. Is that 1 hour a week? Is it 5 hours a week? I know the intent. I think the intent should seriously be looked at. It won't affect anyone who's in the system now. We're talking about clarification for future use. And it's for that reason, and the needed, and I can bring up additional issues. Just look at the words. Part-times will be eligible to purchase. In full, it doesn't say that. All co-pays, it doesn't say in addition. So I don't want to be stuck by words, but words are very critical. And for that reason, I raised that motion to table. So we can clarify this and discuss it and make sure it's correct and not bite us in the future.
Can we get an opinion from the solicitor? Mr. Senator?
Should I anticipate the question?
Just with what Commissioner Kustigiani has raised, what's your opinion on this resolution? As it's worded the way it is right now?
My only, my initial reaction is if there's any ambiguity, then that can be dealt with in discussion and amendment to clarify it. That's how it hit me. But, I mean, so it's, legally, there's always ambiguities. Even if you amend it, there's probably still some ambiguities. But realistically speaking and practically speaking, you have to be comfortable that it's clear enough and that you're satisfied. So again, the appropriate method would be a discussion and then a motion to amend to clear up any ambiguities. That's my take on it, but
Okay.
I mean, I think technically, I have to check my Robert's rules, I'm a little rusty, but I mean, a motion to table is probably, in order at any time. But I mean, I think that's how it hits me. I mean,
Thank you. So, I agree with what Mr. Hogan and Mr. Kustigiani is saying. Diane, we define a part-time employee as somebody working more than 20 hours a week?
Our part-time employees our part-time employees are not clearly defined because they don't work the same amount of hours every week. They work less hours the tax clerks work fewer hours in the less busy times. They work more hours. Probably average 15 to 18, I'd say about 18 hours a week
And
is what they average.
Do they all have a contract that says you are a part-time employee?
No.
Okay. So, and the chair of the finance committee is just advised that this is going to be at zero cost to the district, correct?
Correct.
I understand, the clarification. I don't see a rush of everyone that works in the office coming in and joining, but if they did, it's not going to cost us any extra money out of the district's pocket. I don't see why restricting access to health insurance. As the solicitor said, we can make amendments tonight to clarify if we have to.
I think what Commissioner Kutsiani is requesting is that we have a better definition of part-time. Is that correct?
That's one of the issues.
One of the issues. Personally, I don't want to be, I would not like to be hamstrung by a definition of part-time. Because what if we have someone who isn't a full-time member but works more than 20 hours, or someone who is, we deem part-time, only works 10 hours a week? How are we going to know whether or not they're going to be needed to work X amount of hours, and if we define part-time as working 20 hours a week, what do we do with the people who are working part-time who are now working 12 hours a week? Do we get rid of them?
Well, that's one of the concerns, is I want to make sure that the person we have coming in, sitting next to Diane, is already in the system.
I mean, what do we say? Part-time employees, anyone who works more than 1 hour a week, up to 37 and a half hours a week.
Or how about part-time employees that are hired by resolution? So, for example, Mr. Greenhalgh...
Well, that would eliminate anybody else's opportunity to have health care coverage, if they're willing to pay for it.
Madam Chair, could we say non-full-time? Non-full-time employees?
Madam Chair, I have... It just is not clear enough. You have to look down the road, not this month, but next month, a year from now. It needs clarification. I know what the intent is. I'm not opposed to the intent. But be careful of what you do, because it might come back later on and look at it and say, well, you wrote it. You have to live by it. This is not an emergency situation that I think has to be decided tonight. People who are in the system are in the system. This does not affect them.
Well, we do have an employee who is losing their COBRA and needs health care coverage.
And when does that employee, does anyone know when that employee?
June 1st, she's losing her health care.
How about if we, as a clarification, I don't think we can get this done by,
We can't get it done by June 1st.
but we could do, we have another meeting, we won't have another meeting until June. I was going to say, just put in a resolution for that one particular individual, but I realize it's May 28th.
Well,
I'm sorry, I still
if-
have a problem.
So, if the standing procedure has always been to allow people like yourselves to buy into healthcare as you did, then that person can buy into the health insurance plan until we amend this, correct, Madam Chair? And Mr. Solicitor? So, Mr. Sinope, right now, we have, Diane was hired, Ms. Carolition was hired as part-time. When she came back, left full-time, came back as part-time, she was paid a salary of X. She personally pays her own money back to buy health care insurance, as is the new finance director coming in. So if we table this, will the young lady who's going to be coming on, will she enjoy the same privileges that Diane has had until we refine this resolution? I don't want to go without insurance just because our wording's not right. In
I
other
mean, it
words.
depends what it would say in the terms of the hiring. I mean, I assume you have some kind of hiring letter or terms of engagement. So whatever is said in that is typically, what the arrangement would be with respect to benefits and compensation. I don't know what it said in her terms of engagement.
Diane?
I'm not sure when she was hired, and she's been with us now for 2 years plus, probably going on 3. And I'm not sure when she was hired if we were a relatively new district at that time, and we were just starting with HR and personnel, and I'm not sure if there was even a letter. I don't know. Could be, but I'm not sure. That's not something that I took care of, so.
But it does make sense that past practice has been allowing part-time employees, as previously described, which has been nondescript, to buy.
No, there is no past practice.
Well, Diane did it.
I've been purchasing mine,
Good point.
and we hired the new finance director.
Stephen?
And I think that set a precedent, because once that became public. As I said, We have 2 clerks in the tax office. One of them has asked to purchase health benefits.
How many hours a week does this person work?
She probably averages 18 to 20. Some weeks she works more, some weeks she works less. But probably 3 days a week, more in the summer.
Commissioner Kutsiani, would it be helpful if we identified part-time employee as someone who works more than 18, greater than 18 hours a week?
Not to me. Not to me at this point in time. Before, when I saw the resolution, I looked at the bylaws, I looked at the various resolutions. I want to ensure that the finance director and the subsequent finance director were already covered by prior resolutions. I'm still uncomfortable with the wording of this one. I just think it would require too much amendment, and I'm not quite sure I feel comfortable with coming up with the appropriate amendment at this time.
Okay.
So
That's me.
My feedback to that would be the positions here aren't easy to fill given how much we pay in the few number of hours. If we can offer a benefit that costs us nothing, that is a significant benefit to these people, why would we not do that? Anytime someone is hired as a full-time employee, it's very clear that they're a full-time employee. If they're not full-time, then the only other thing they can be is part-time. I just don't understand where the confusion is and why we're having such a long discussion about something very, very simple. It clearly says in here, all co-pays and the annual deductible will be the responsibility of the employee. Our finance director has confirmed that there wouldn't be any additional costs to the district, and wouldn't it cause an increase in our premiums either? I just think we're nitpicking for the sake of minutia at this point. We're arguing semantics over something that seems pretty clear.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner.
Well, I've already expressed my trouble with it. I would make a motion to amend this particular resolution to apply to a specifically part-time named employee designated by name. Does that help?
I don't think that's a good idea. You're saying.
I'm sorry, say it again?
What if the other person wants benefits as well? We're singling that person out for no reason. Now we're showing favoritism. There could be, if I was that person and I wasn't offered benefits but someone else was, that's a discrimination suit right there. I don't think it's right in principle, and I think that's a big liability too.
I agree with Commissioner Pacone. You know, we're making a big deal out of this, and I understand that you're uncomfortable with the language, but we have an opportunity to have someone, we're giving someone the opportunity to buy their own health care at our rate. They're paying for everything. Why would we not want to do that?
I've expressed my opinion. It's not.
I know, it's the
It's not the
language.
intent. I know what the intent is. I completely agree with the intent, specifically with the named individual, with the clarification. But right now, I still feel uncomfortable. I will not support this as it is written, nor am I going to make any amendments at this time. I've tried.
Okay. So I'm not clear what direction we need to go here because Commissioner Kutsiani moved to table after there was a motion. Any suggestions?
It was seconded by Commissioner Hogan.
The motion to table isn't seconded, so all that's on the table right now is the discussion of the original question. So it's in order for a vote unless there's a motion and to amend in a second.
Madam Chair, that's, our solicitor is correct. I did not, I agreed with parts of what Commissioner Kutsiani did, but I did not second the motion. Would it be feasible, Commissioner Kutsiani, that we amend it to all non-full-time employees shall be eligible to purchase health?
At their own cost.
At their own cost. I mean, now that I know that it's not a cost of the district, I see things in a different light. So that's just basically my opinion for an amendment.
Yeah, I will not favor that, because not full-time employees could mean someone who works, I know it isn't here now, could be 2 hours a week. You will say that will never happen, never say never.
And if they wanted to purchase health care, working 2 hours a week?
And there's the administrative costs that go with it, the record track keeping. I know the intent, but that's my view.
Okay. All right, so the motion on the table to accept, there was the motion to move to table was not seconded, therefore, we've just been in discussion. There was a motion to accept the resolution made by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Santoro. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of accepting the resolution allowing amending benefit options for part-time employees, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose.
Passes 6-1. Thank you. You're welcome, Commissioner. I feel your pain. I understand what you're saying, but if you want to work on that and perhaps come up with different language in which we can amend at another time, that would be great. Work with the bylaws committee, because we will have to put that into the bylaws. Thank you. Any public input? Okay. At this point in time, we need to go into executive session. So we would ask the public to leave.
Motion to go into executive session?
Motion to go into executive session by Commissioner Santoro.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hogan. All in favor of going into executive session, say aye.
You should state in the motion, you should state the specific purpose for
Right,
going
thank you,
into
you're right,
executive session.
sorry.
I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss items of business cited in RIGL Section 42-46-5, subsection A, 1 through 9. A discussion of the collective bargaining agreement, RIGL, SIG 45-46-5, subsection A, subsection 2.
Seconded by Commissioner Hogan.
Yes. Like what I just said.
All in favor of entering executive session, say aye.